everybody. Welcome to Boozy Book Reports with Beth and Sam. It's our very, very first episode of our new podcast, and we're so excited to be sharing this with you. So for our very first book report, we are doing the Boxcar Children. Mm-hmm. And an oldie but a goodie.
Goodie is
that's
subjective.
I'm giving
it's an oldie.
It's an oldie. You may remember it as a goodie, but we are about to demolish that memory. So
Well,
we'll
celebrate what's good about it.
Okay. Which is, you can always find the positive in something, but
this isn't Adam hates everything or whatever.
No, this is a time for us to come together, relive our childhood, drink some booze, and just enjoy life, because life right now is a little bit hectic in the world. And this podcast is all about just letting that go. It's low stakes. You don't have to learn anything.
Nope.
You don't have to know anything.
Nope.
Because guess what? Just if you thought that this was going to be like a literature, like
no critical
analysis of anything, it is not. This is just two ladies drinking booze, reading old books, and talking smack about them. So
yep. It's the sassier version of your neighborhood book club.
Gotta love it. It's so good. Anyway, so like I said, our very first book pick is The Boxcar Children by Gertrude Chandler Warner. But before we dive in, we need to talk about what we're drinking. And Sam has made us two amazingly delicious drinks. And she's going to describe them to you because I have no idea what's in them. I am not a drinker. So this could go really south really fast, for me at least.
So if you're following along at home and you've read the books, you will see some of the references that we've made. So our first one is what we're calling our Alden Mule, which is, if you live in a boxcar and you're of age, you probably drink some hooch.
Yes.
So we're going with moonshine cocktails tonight, or at least hoochie cocktails. So this one is with a vanilla vodka that's actually made by a friend of mine in Walla Walla.
Nice.
Or in Dayton, I guess. And so information about it will all be on the
show notes.
On the show notes.
Yes.
There we go. So it's vanilla vodka. It has a little bit of Angostura bitters and ginger beer and a little bit of Benedictine. So it's sweet and spicy.
And it's delicious. Let me just say, it is delicious. The first taste, it was apple pie. And I was just like, I'm instantly going to be drunk.
There's a lot of cinnamon, I think, in the vodka. So an apple pie moonshine, if that's, the little jars you can get at the liquor store. That are, less sketch.
Yes. Less hoochish.
Less hoochish. And, or find your neighborhood, your friend who makes it. But this is actually like a licensed product. You could buy this.
Okay. It's not bathtub hooch.
No.
Okay.
No.
Right? Is that still a thing? That's still a thing, right?
It's not legally a thing.
No, but I'm sure it's a thing. Right? Because don't people drink that and go blind? I feel like that's a thing.
So if you, yes. Okay. So I'm a chemist.
And I'm an idiot. So she will be explaining many things to me.
No. So if you ferment pectin, which is in fruit, so fruit wines, fruit things you can ferment pectin to methanol, but there's if you distill and there's tests you can do, and
worries here, people.
No, nobody's going blind tonight.
Yes,
it'll be fine. Well,
I do have some pins in the room, so you'll never know if we might slip and fall. Sorry, that went real dark.
Rage. This is taking me back to high school. My best friend in high school used to threaten this all the time. I'll just stab someone with a pencil. So
yeah, it makes sense.
Cookie, this is for you.
All right, and we have a second drink, which is a beautiful plum purpley color.
Yes. So we went with a cherry flavored drink. And so this is a throwback to childhood. My husband and I call this one the Sonic drive-through because it basically is a cherry limeade. It's pretty tart. So not your childhood cherry limeade, but it has lime juice. It has a cherry liqueur made by my friend, also some hooch. This is a different friend. Apparently I have a lot of friends that are just making hooch these days.
I love it.
It's not illegal because it's just it's just when you what's it called when you just let something sit in something? It's
fermented? No. Sorry. I'm already feeling it. I've taken 4 big drinks, so your girl is like, what are words?
Yeah, it's just an infusion. There we go. It's just an infusion. So it is not also going to make you go blind. But yeah, we have it's got cherry liqueur, it's got lime, and it's got a little bit of cherry syrup and some grenadine for color and flavor.
It's amazing. And again, we will have some pictures up. We'll have the recipes up. So boom, we're ready to go.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I'm feeling it. Good. And I'm feeling good. It has been a long ass week. So I'm so excited to tear into this children's book. It's like,
coming for you, Jessie.
I have to say, okay, so I purchased my version of the Boxcar Children off of eBay. And I got the version that I saw in the 80s, like when I originally had this book. And I see that you have a more modern version.
Yeah, I got mine new from our local bookstore. And, our boy Henry's wearing a polo.
Yeah, I have to say the kids on my book, first of all, they're straight up 80s with some khaki pants and pastel polos.
Yeah.
And headbands and all the things. First of all, I was duped. So as I was reading this book, I think I was realizing I don't think I ever read this book as a child.
Did you not?
Oh, here's the thing. I owned the book. And I think it's because this book had a chokehold on the Scholastic Book Fair when I was growing up. And the Boxcar Children were the thing.
That was the one that we had too. That's the same one that I grew up with. That was the one that was in the library. And
yes. And it was just like, it looked amazing. And it's like, oh, look at the adventure these kids are going to have and all this stuff. And as I was reading the book, I'm like, wait a minute. This is not what I remember. I think I had fever dreams. And just by looking at the covers, I made up stories in my brain about this.
There are many of them though, as I think you have.
There's 179 of these.
Yeah. So I think I read this one, and then I actually preferred the later ones, especially anyone that involved a horse.
Oh, were you a horse girl?
I was a horse girl. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Horse girl. Yeah, I have that horse girl energy. Yeah.
I mean, you still kind of do, which is why I love you so much.
Yeah, I was a horse girl. And so any of them that involved horses, because I think Jessie became like a rider later. Anyone that had, I think says a lot about childhood me, a horse or any of them had a potential love interest.
Oh,
I feel like there was a point where like
strong horse girl energy.
It was like, maybe they're going to be boyfriend and girlfriend. God. That was, those were the ones I was more drawn to. This one where the lady stayed at home and cooked was not my fave.
No. As I started reading this book, firstly, I was just like, what am I reading? Because this is something else than I expected. A couple reasons. Number one, it said it was a mystery. So I want to read the back of the book of what it describes it to be. And then we'll just start sharing our experiences with this book because you know what? For me, they were not good. Okay, so this is the back of my book. It says, one warm night, 4 children stood in front of a bakery. No one knew them. No one knew where they had come from. Henry, Jessie, Violet, and Benny are orphans. Determined to make it on their own, they set out to find a safe place to live. They discover an old red boxcar that provides shelter from a storm. Against all odds, they make it into their home and become the Boxcar Children. That's freaking exciting.
Yeah.
Is yours the same?
No, it's not. It says Henry, Jessie, Violet, and Benny are brothers and sisters. They're orphans too. And the only way they can stay together is to make it on their own. When the children find an abandoned boxcar in the woods, they decide to call it home and become the Boxcar Children.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
But they don't actually stay there very long.
No, this is the biggest BS ever. It's all lies. And okay, so first of all, the author, when we were just like, I was like, I'm going to do a little wiki search to see what this lady was about. I was shook, first of all, that these books were written in like the 20s.
You didn't get that from the lady stayed at home and hemmed a tablecloth part?
I mean,
thought, that could be the 80s too sometimes.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I just didn't realize because I looked at the cover and I thought 80s chic. And I start reading, I'm like, why am I in the past? Like, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, these are like super depression era.
Yeah, but it's just, again, I feel duped because it was sold as like an 80s tale. And I'm like, the very first thing we see is like horrific. Yeah. So like my book right now is like full of highlights and notations because I was so shook on the first page. Like, so the gist of the story, if you don't recall, and if you don't want to reread this masterpiece, is that these orphaned kids...
It'll take you 10 minutes, though. You'll be fine.
Yeah. They show up on this baker's door, And the baker's wife is such a bitch. She's just like, I don't even like kids, but we can maybe keep them so I can use them as slave labor.
Exactly. I can enslave these children, but not the young one.
No.
He is whiny.
Yeah. And he
too
can go to
little.
the children's home. I was just like, what is happening? Like, this is the least healthy thing I've ever read.
I actually think that there is a strong competitor as you continue on the plot of the book.
Of worst person ever? Or okay, sorry.
Yep, yeah,
okay.
but we can wait. We should cover the baker lady first.
Okay.
And then I have a later...
all I wanted to say was she was a bitch. So that's all I had to say about her.
Yeah, she was pretty terrible.
Well, and then she just was like, let's go. They ran around. Okay, so the kids overhear her talking about how they're going to get rid of the little Benny kid who's 6 years old.
Not good at being an evil mastermind baker lady.
No. And so she literally, like, the kids run away that first night, and then the next day the baker and the wife are going to go find them, and the kids are hiding in a bale of hay. And I'm like, what is this story?
My childhood, we used to make bale of hay forts, and you get little holes where you've taken out the hay and the tarp is over, and you just kind of hide in there, and then you chill out.
Safe? That feels
Why
not
is it not
safe. Could it collapse?
No.
I don't know farm life.
Okay, again, horse girl. Bales of hay are quite heavy.
Yeah.
And especially if you have the big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're heavy. They're not going anywhere.
Okay. I don't know. It's like, I'm terrified of agriculture. Like, I saw a thing on 2020 or some show like that, or a YouTube video where it's like the corn silos where they put the corn. Never go in there because you'll die instantly.
My undergrad in chemical engineering and a whole class on powder tech. Yeah, no, you can really die.
Yeah.
Don't go in a silo, but a haze stack,
I don't trust anything.
It's like some bricks with a tarp over it and like some bungee cords.
Okay, I mean, it could have been fun. I don't know.
It was super fun. You would like make a little home in there, and so there was like I was as a kid totally was into the Boxcar Children. Not totally into it, but I was into this idea, but was disappointed by the execution.
Yeah.
My grandparents had a boxcar on their property. I kid you not. It was like this house that they had. I think they just rented it, not the boxcar, the property, but that's where they like put the hay.
Oh my god!
It was like stacked up, and you could like go inside it. So yeah, I was like, oh, this is gonna be so cool, and then it's not cool. Yeah, they're like, we made a house in a boxcar,
and the jankiest house ever. I mean, okay, I know they're kids.
Resourceful.
They were resourceful, but it was just like thing after thing of like, where are they at? Where are the adults? And the adults in their lives are so dysfunctional.
Okay.
And uncaring.
This brings me to my candidate for worst adult in the book. Is the doctor. The doctor he's like, well, I found that they were living in a boxcar, and I just thought, well, that's mighty good fun, and I just let him keep going.
It was like, what is happening?
I want to like really quick. I was thinking about this morning. I want full disclosure. I am not the kind of person. I don't have children myself. I am not the kind of person who's like, ooh, if those kids are in a field, we better call the cops on their parents. Yeah. Like, no. I don't believe in that nonsense about, we used to run around the neighborhood, come home when the lights are on sort of stuff. And again, I used to like hang out in a pile of hay, like obviously like safety not strong. We also used to like turn each other around in a composter too, but
oh my gosh,
we put on a bike helmet. It was for safety.
Okay.
So anyway, like I'm not here to like say that you shouldn't let kids have kid experiences, and occasionally kids are going to get hurt. That's fine. That's part of like growing up, and those scars are like later fun stories, as long as you're not like losing a limb. That guy's crazy.
Yeah,
that guy.
Well, first of all, can I just say he's living with his mother as a doctor. And I was just like,
not to judge anybody who's returned to live with their parents because of crushing medical school debts.
Yes. And I'm a millennial, and I live with my parents for way longer than I wanted to. So I get it. Yeah. But it's just like a weird dynamic between the two to me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think there were many things that I was like, thought that they were weird dynamics.
Yeah.
But, I can't decide if that's just me as a different generation reading it.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, this generation is the effed up generation. Let's just be real.
I don't know. These are the boomers.
Oh, no, we love everybody. Sure. However, just the thought of like the child, again, it goes back to child labor and how everybody was just like, how can we exploit these children?
Well, yeah, that's the thing that killed me. It's like he knows they're living in a boxcar, and he's like, sure, come pick cherries. Yeah, I know that you're like your brother is really like unhealthily attached to a broken pink cup.
Yeah.
But
it's fine.
You can work in my mom's yard.
Yeah. The kid is 14 years old.
Yeah.
And then the way to describe it, he's working all day. It's not just like, an hour. It's like he's working from dusk to dawn.
I mean, that even, like, if you're like doing farm work and stuff, that doesn't even upset me. It's sort of the idea that, like,
for $1?
Well, it's a different time. Actually, I do have $25 in 1942, which is the release date on my book.
Okay.
Was like $400.
Okay.
So $1's like
okay-ish.
Yeah, $1's like
it's not great, but it's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That time. Well, in 1920, whenever I guess this kid was rich. So maybe the doctor wasn't a jerk. He's giving him $1,000 for working.
He's telling him, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, kid.
I mean, they
did do it in Depression land.
Oh my gosh, when they were talking about like, okay, so basically they're running away from this farmer. And the bigger pictures are running away from their grandfather, and they don't want to be found because he and the parents had a falling out, and I don't even know.
Yeah,
but because it's not really a deep dive in book 1.
Just that he hates the mother.
Yeah, and so the kids are like, "We're not going to go live with you, even though you're the richest man in town."
I don't think they know that.
Probably not, but it's just very sad to me that. I don't know.
Yeah,
that
I don't think
running.
that would change their idea because they think that the grandfather hates them because they hated their mother, which is like, that's so sad. That's a sad family dynamic. Well,
there's lots of people that are like, just no mother-in-law, just no family, no contact, which I get.
Yeah,
but let's
info diet. I have understood that.
Yeah,
yeah.
But it's also like, I think you mentioned this when you were finishing the book. You're like, yeah, I'm finishing up the book on poor, estate planning or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
the Boxcar Children, or why estate planning and a living will is important.
Yeah, it's just wild. So the kids, again, they get away from the baker. They're like, we got to find a place because there's this big storm. And that's when they discover the boxcar in the woods. And like, this is the perfect thing ever. Let's make some beds out of pine needles. And I'm like, what?
I think that's a very like kid thing to do. Is that in their mind, that's completely logical. Like they think we have nowhere to go. All that we have is each other. They have this like incredible sibling bond, and that's all they know.
I know. It's just the visual of like I don't, even as a kid, I didn't like pine needles. Like,
oh, okay, that's fair. That's fair.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the pokiest bed you could find. Like, what would be the most uncomfortable thing to lay on that's not the floor? Pine cones or pine needles. Like, what's going to jam at me all night since I don't have a blanket?
Every time you roll over, it pulls you.
It's just wild. So anyway, and then they decide, we need all this stuff. So they're and this is the weird thing too. The boxcar's not that far from the dump. Like, they walk to the dump.
I think that also is like not inconsistent with my small town. I mean, I don't think that's that weird, but yeah.
I was raised in like straight suburbia, so it's just like, what are these people doing?
Again, hard redneck horse girl energy, I guess. Like, yeah, it totally makes sense that this defunct boxcar is, of course, it's next to the dump, and you go and you get stuff from the dump.
Yeah, they got so much stuff from the dump, and I was just
have
like,
you ever been to a pick and save for your car?
What? What is a pick and save?
They have like kind of like half broken down cars, and you pick what you need off of it, and you save.
Looking at me and knowing me, why would I have ever gone to a pick and save? Like,
okay,
well. But I think it's cool. I was once in Mississippi,
never dumpster
though.
dived their ottoman in their house.
I've never dumpster. I've been watching all these TikToks. No. I've been watching all these TikToks though of like all of these people that are dumpster diving by the campuses of college campuses. Everybody's moving out, and they're getting so much stuff.
No, my friends in college used to do that. They would pretend they were looking for their cat muffin. And
oh my gosh. I mean, I don't blame them. They're getting so much stuff.
They did. I know there was at one point where we got a brand new pair of shoes, and my friend got this was obviously a different time, but a BlackBerry that just needed a new battery.
I'm telling people throughout the amount of and then I was getting all like indignant, like, look at the waste, just all this waste in the world. As I'm like, doing what I do is just totally wasteful and whatever. But it just felt like a lot, and I don't know. Anyway, but so I've not dumpster dive. There's also like this whole like dumpster dive crew on the TikTok that do dumpster diving outside of like all the major stores. So they do like Ulta and this and that. And I didn't realize like all those places like destroy all their stuff or try to, and then people are really picking through it and they find all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, that is such an interesting way to live. Like, no judgment.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's so fast. Like, I would never have thought to go, you know what I'm going to do? Go behind Best Buy or go behind Target and see what I can find.
Yeah, I think that's a level. Partially that is upsetting that they like destroy all that.
It's so frustrating.
Wait, it's all that, basically energy
The
goes
world
into
is
that.
ending. Sorry, this is light and airy. We're not thinking about those things. However,
but I guess what I'm saying is, the thing that them picking things out of the dump is not the most upsetting part of this book. It's the doctor.
Yeah. Okay.
The doctor is the most upsetting part
to
of
me,
this
the
book.
most upsetting, the thing that stuck with me, that gave me nightmares, were like, let's clean up the spoons. They're all rusty. Let's rub some sand on them. No.
What do you think is a magic eraser? It's just an abrasive.
Okay. I do not feel like a rusty ass spoon is going to get clean with some sand that an 8-year-old's rubbing on it. I mean, I'm not a scientist.
That's probably,
I don't know. In my head, I'm just picturing these kids eating out of these cracked picture pits. Oh, okay, we're gone. A cracked picture that they've kind of cleaned.
See, that doesn't upset me. Well, I mean, I guess tetanus is a real problem, probably at 19.
These kids didn't have any vaccinations. No. They were not. That was not the case.
True. Yeah.
But then again,
they put their milk behind a rock.
I know. Well, that was a whole thing too. The fact that they were just raw dogging milk, I was like, stop. I'm not a person, I have a family member, and every time I go around them, they it's dinner time. They're like, let me get a nice cold refreshing glass of milk. And I'm like, what?
Oh,
it's I just don't understand it.
In college, me and my roommates, we were drinking 4 glasses a day. We'd have 2 with dinner, a glass with lunch, and a glass with breakfast.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I'm lactose intolerant. Things were rough, but at the time I was lactose in denial. So
that's my constant state.
Just chugging up. Yeah, no, we drink a lot of milk. You didn't drink, did you drink milk growing up?
No. I mean, I think I had it on cereal, but I was not let me just drink a glass of milk. Every once in a while I'd have Hershey's, but we were kind of not rich growing up. So it's Hershey's sauce was was generic, first of all.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a treat. It wasn't something we normally had in the house when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I remember drinking that a little bit, but yeah. But I also was super lactose intolerant. So it's
yeah.
But I didn't know about it. I just was why does my stomach hurt when I drink a whole thing of milk?
Yeah.
Now I'm dead.
Yeah. I just thought being gassy was a normal state.
Oh my gosh. That's the worst.
Yeah.
It's are you kidding me?
I learned so much when I went to college.
I know. But it's amazing what you learn when you get out of your
normal
home of origin. You're
yeah.
wait, what am I? What?
I can't do this the time. God.
Well, I just realized not that long ago that a lot of the meals, and I'm thinking about the kids because their big meal was always bread and milk. And then they throw in, we got some tops of carrots. We can boil those into a mush and eat them.
Oh, yeah. I have some comments about Jesse's culinary skills.
But my gosh. But it's the struggle meal. And I didn't realize that it had a name. And I didn't realize that a lot of the food I grew up was struggle food.
What is your struggle food craving?
Homemade pancakes is one because they were cheap. Mac and cheese.
Yeah.
But I used to love mac and cheese with but the Kraft mac and cheese.
Yeah. Blue box.
But then the other day I was craving something and I was I just want tuna casserole.
Oh, it's so good.
And I was just that is a struggle meal for sure.
Oh yeah, but it's good.
It's so good.
It's really good.
So what were your struggle meals?
So the one I always crave when I'm sick is top ramen, chicken top ramen with a can of corn thrown into it.
Oh, that is special.
And I used to think it was so I don't want to eat this. And now whenever I'm sick, I crave that so bad. That's like that. And then I'll admit the fanciest thing I thought this was the fanciest meal because it's a struggle meal, but it's not. I don't know. So we would make mashed potatoes.
Okay.
And then you would make hamburgers and you would pan fry the hamburgers and then you would take the hamburger out of the pan but leave all of the grease and pour in a can of cream of mushroom soup with just a little bit of milk and you'd make a pan gravy with cream of mushroom.
Okay.
And it's very gray.
Yeah.
There's no vegetables in this. But that was that was the fanciest thing. And I remember when I made that for Kevin, my at the time boyfriend, now husband, he was
Not
very
impressed?
polite but unimpressed.
Oh.
And I was like, this is fancy food.
Oh my gosh, that's the worst when you make your struggle food dish and then the person's like, what is this?
Why
is
did you
this your
eat
choice?
this? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's like, because it's delicious. And
it's
you're like,
so good.
Yeah, it is.
I haven't had that in years. Maybe. Oh,
I think you should make it. You should make it for your anniversary. Just like be a brat.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And then I'll be sure to back that up. But so that's his that's the food that my husband will not eat is cream of mushroom soup. And that is like,
that's a good staple food.
it's up to, it is a boxcar era depression level food.
Yes.
I love a good condensed soup.
Yes.
I'll admit. Like when,
You can do so much with it.
Yeah. No, use it as sauce, use it as So I think the meals that they ate were not that upsetting to me. So I think that it actually reminded me a lot of like things my grandparents would eat, which when we tried to rationalize why they would eat that, the only thing we could think of was like the depression.
Yeah.
And this is, so my, when they talked about the where they were putting the milk on the bread.
Oh yeah.
So that's like a thing in my family with cornbread. You make cornbread, you put it in a glass and you pour milk over it and you eat it like mush.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
I think that's got to be like a middle of the country thing. I don't know. But that's my grandma's favorite, and my pops's is popcorn. He does the same thing. He puts the popcorn in the glass and pours milk on it and eats it.
Fascinating.
That was
popcorn
rest in peace,
cereal.
Pops. It's almost like Pops, right? Like
Yeah.
That's Pops is also what we used to call my grandfather, but it's almost like Pops cereal too. Yeah, so when they did that stuff, it was a little bit like, oh, these are like the depression foods that like survived in my family that people would eat occasionally. And this is like, if you would ask my grandma, what's her struggle food, it would probably be the milk and cornbread thing.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I thought that was kind of cute, but I also think that if my husband were to have read that, he would be like, what is wrong with these people? I'd be like, you don't eat that.
Oh my gosh.
That's not a meal.
It's a meal if you think it's a meal and if you think it's delicious. So the kids have created this house.
Yes.
They're living in the boxcar. They have their pine needle beds. They've gone to the dump numerous times.
They made a shelf.
They made a shelf.
Which would probably look very trendy. That would be an Instagram shelf. Did you see? Did they have the illustrations in your book?
They did. And let me just say that these kids would be trending for like cottagecore or something on like they would have their own Instagram and it would be like boxcar chic.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like it'd be the bougiest, like most like
West Elm sells 3 of these things.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes.
Also with the cracks.
Oh my gosh. I can't remember what group it was now or what designer brand, but they came out with like shoes that look just, like little kid shoes where they've worn them to death. There's holes, they're dirty. You can buy them pre-done.
Girl, go to the Goodwill.
It's like quote unquote poor culture, but like the shoes cost $1,000 or something.
That's so frustrating because somebody's making money off of that and somebody just doesn't have shoes.
I know. So it's just like, oh, look at this aesthetic. And then it's like, no, there's literally people that's their reality, but that's cool. Anyway,
I guess
rant over.
I'm starting to become to my mother in that sense because I remember when the jeans with the holes came back into style when I was like in middle school and I was like, Mom, I gotta have those. And she was like, absolutely not. You can put them in yourself. Like, I'm not gonna buy you broken jeans.
Oh my gosh, this is a struggle. Okay, so the kids, the next thing that I'm remembering is they built a dam, which
for the swimming pool.
Which I'm like, this again, OSHA. I just don't know what was wrong. As a kid, I was not very adventurous. So the thought of like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna dam up this little creek and make a lake is kind of amazing. I think the most adventurous thing I did as a kid like that in that realm was there was an empty lot in our neighborhood. And one summer, all the kids decided to dig a hole. Yeah. And that was what we did. We dug a hole every day.
Yeah, that's...
with spoons and like pails. And we would be out there for hours just digging in this like really disgusting, like gray dirt covered in it at home. Yeah. And I'm just like, that's how we spent a chunk of our summer was digging a hole for nobody knows who started it. Nobody knows why we stopped, but we're digging a hole.
I feel like that does sound like the most like that's kid logic. That's why like when you say things when like some of the things they think of in here, you're like, oh, that's a choice. Yeah. But then you think back to your logic. Like childhood and you're like, that is probably the choice I would have also like logically come to with my like child brain.
Yeah. Again, I don't have I don't take big issue with them. I take a lot of issue with the adults around them.
Yeah.
Of just like, watching kids just struggle. I'm like, let's just see how they do. It's like that new, have you seen that Netflix show? It's like, I think it's based in Japan.
I've only seen the SNL parody of it with the long-term boyfriends.
Yes. It's like, so they send these kids that are like 3 years old, 4 years old out into the world to run errands and just to see how they do. And of course, I'm sure, people are trailing them, all that stuff. But this is that without any safety net. Like there's no safety net in this book.
They don't have little cute flags to walk across streets with. They're just out doing child labor.
Yeah. So, okay. So now they're doing their thing and they've now met a doctor.
Yes. He has randomly asked somebody if he can work in his yard.
Yes. And it just so happens to be the doctor that lives with his mother, who I very much, he's one of those guys that calls his mother. Mother, dinner's ready. That kind of guy.
Better than calling your wife mother, but.
That is the most repulsive thing. I'm sorry if you do that out in the world. But if you're like calling your wife mother, I mean, I can't.
Sometimes Kevin and I call each other mom and dad to the cats. Like, go find dad,
That's ironic and cute.
Yeah.
Calling your wife mother, especially after the kids have left the household.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, what is happening?
Yeah. Yeah. It's different when you're like talking to your kids of like, go talk to mom about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't call it to her face.
No.
Or to any other human adult.
No. Yeah. I even get offended when people call me a cat mom. I'm like, shut your mouth.
Oh.
I have a cat roommate, okay?
Yeah. Yeah. I exert, well, I mean, that's also true about children. I exert no control or ownership of this situation. I don't like the fur baby thing either.
Oh, I hate fur baby. And they have a fur baby in this book named Watch.
I really like it.
It was really cute.
Yeah, and it's definitely Jesse's dog.
Okay, but I have to say that the way that they describe the tack or whatever in his paw, the thorn, and like it keeps coming and coming, and I'm like, that's freaking traumatic. Because in the pictures, this is one of those little scruffy dogs that has a little paw.
Yeah,
it's not an elephant. It doesn't have like a, I'm, of course, my brain is like picturing a 12-inch spike in this dog's paw, so I'm traumatized. But anyway.
Yeah. I thought it was,
it's cute.
It's cute, but you're right. They do kind of like,
it's the things that this author just saying. I am feeling great.
But
just the thing that the choices this author makes on what she like goes into depth of describing is so interesting.
Yeah. Like, I can't tell if it's because that's just like the kind of author she is, or like, I guess I chalk that up to sort of like a child's mind.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, and the thorn was so big and it just kept coming and coming, like a little, like the way like a kid might describe it.
Yeah.
So I can't decide if she's like just a kind of a bad author. Not bad, but like just not the kind of author, not the kind of writer I would like, or if she just is like sort of portraying everything in like a simple like children's way. I mean, she is writing for children, right? This is not made for adults.
But it's like, okay, this is when they were swimming.
Yeah.
And they're talking about swimming.
Yeah.
And she says, such wet children were never seen before. What the hell does that mean? You're swimming. This is page
so
87. I don't know if we're on the same timeline. Oh my gosh. Like I haven't had any alcohol for maybe a month and a half. Maybe 5 months. I'm glad we're at my house.
I did tell Kevin he might have to come get me.
Yeah, I'm just like
I think I'll be okay. I'm feeling nice and warm, but not.
Well, and we have different tolerances. I think. Not to say you're a lush at all. I'm stating that for the record.
I am the one that made the cocktails, so I think it can be assumed that I do drink cocktails.
You drink cocktails, but you're a classy drinker.
I'd say sip from this mason jar.
But you're sipping with a fancy stainless steel.
Yes. I bought these during the pandemic so I could make iced lattes for myself and feel like a human again.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So they are still just living their best lives and now they're working for the doctor. Also, the weird thing was too, is this like town race that everybody just participates in.
That one was okay. I was going to also put that in my thesis about Dr. Moore being the worst person in this book.
Person ever.
He's like, hey, boy, work for me all day and then go run for me, boy. And then sends him off.
Well, and he's like, go watch the races and tell me who wins. Knowing, and I think at that time too, doesn't he say like he knows that the grandfather is going to be there and he wants to just, I don't know. It was just weird.
Well, because he knows that, and he's like, oh, I'm not going to tell the Yeah, I
Why?
don't know.
Why are you the way you are?
Because he's a bad person. He's like, come labor for me, children. I'm gonna. Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, so spoiler.
There were several points in this book where I wrote child labor laws.
Yeah. There's several places in this book that I want to just close it and be like, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
But
I'll admit there's a few LOL WTFs just written in the thing.
It just was like so many like highlights of like why did they act this way? The thing that got me too. So the kid Henry runs in the race.
Yeah.
And he wins, which is great. And then he meets his grandfather, but doesn't realize.
Yeah.
Because he didn't give his full name.
And the grandfather doesn't realize it's the grandson.
Which to me is like he has your name. Like
yeah, but there's such like art. I feel like I'm a Gertrude Chandler Warner apologist at this point. They are such vague random names like James Henry and Henry James. Like
he's like he doesn't look like your son looked like when he was growing up. Like you've never seen them. I don't know.
It's a sweaty dirt covered gutter child. Who has literally just been working all day and then got shoved into this race by his weird doctor friend.
And it's like one of those kids, like, you know, you see those like stories of people that like, I wasn't even planning to run the marathon and then I just ran it. It's very that. I'm like,
have you ever accidentally fell into a marathon?
I've read stories where people will just kind of show up and just do crap like that.
So there are some sports that I can't go to because I will want to play. Mm-hmm. Ultimate Frisbee. Play a lot of that.
Never had that experience in my life.
So I had a time where I was injured and I couldn't go because if I went, I would find myself playing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's nice to me.
Yeah. But it was the whole like I wrote here, today's a field day and I want you to see the races. And I wrote, work for me, then run for me, boy. Why is this?
Well, and then, okay, so
weird.
Finally, champion, he wins a silver cup. He wins some good money, which is great.
$400, $442.
Which...
in 1942.
Which is impressive. Which in 1929, when it originally came out, who knew?
Is that when
I don't know edition I had, I'm just making it up.
Copyright for me was 42.
1924 was when the original Boxcar Children was published.
Okay, so this is the abridged version. Yes. This must be, that's the first time they put the abridged version out.
Yeah, because
that's like $800.
Right?
He won like $1,000 in that race.
Yeah, and they're like, let's get some meat.
Yeah. Steaks.
Barbecue.
Baby.
But then it's like immediately, I thought this was the weirdest thing. The Violet gets sick.
Yes.
And they went and found more treasures at the dump. And then she's like, I don't remember, how did she get sick? It was really like
it was not well described.
Like they're having dinner and all of a sudden she's cold and now she's dying.
Well, she's laughing and then she's crying and then she just keeps crying.
Yeah, and then it causes her to like have a fit.
Yeah.
And then finally the doctor is like, you know what? I think I'm going to bring the kids to my mansion because he lives in a giant farmhouse with multiple rooms.
Yeah. Yeah. Rather than like, well, so I have to admit, this is like the one part where I thought the kids really made a misstep. So that when they're going to they were doing great. And then things were good. Oh, we do need to cover the culinary choices of Jesse.
Oh, yes, we will.
Later. There was a point, let me get to it. I also wrote creep several times.
Yeah.
He'd like to see the boys run. That's different. We don't like that.
Yeah.
So there's a point at which they are talking about, one of my comments was also because I'm a creep and a shit doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, dude.
Who are you treating?
Losing his license. So there's a comment where Jesse says they need to walk separately because they might realize that they're 4 kids that are related and they know that people are looking for them. And then she like immediately outs them. Yeah. She's the worst snitch. Let me find the quote. I wrote something like, you were literally just freaked out about they were worried about not outing the fact that they were orphans or the 4 missing children. They knew that they were being looked for. Mm-hmm. And when they're in the cherry orchard, Jesse straight up outs them and says, no, our mother and father are dead.
Yeah, baby.
Just worried 2 pages ago in, again, text that is as big as the spine of this book. So 30 milliseconds ago, you were very worried about this. And then you like very much out yourself as an orphan.
Again,
Were the cherries fermented, girl? Like, why are you making these mistakes?
There's just a lot of questions that I have.
This was the only inconsistency I could find with the children. That, and again, Jesse's culinary skills.
Oh my gosh.
Which I shouldn't be like harping on a 12-year-old girl for not like preparing
decent meals.
She like burns the potatoes and then it's like, just eat the gooey insides.
I mean, relatable. There was a time, what did I do? I think I made bread and it was raw in the middle. No, I was at camp.
Oh, okay.
And the bread was raw in the middle, but I was so hungry. I'm like, just eat that. Just eat around it. Just eat around it. I'm like, that is not smart.
No.
But you know, you do what you got to do.
So when I was working abroad at one point, do you know the bread that you're supposed to like finish baking at home?
Oh, yeah.
I just thought that the Dutch bread was very light. Oh. And I was eating unbaked rolls.
Ew.
Or like half par baked rolls. And my coworkers were like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? I did not have an oven.
Oh.
I was in like a studio with like an IKEA cooktop.
Oh. I lived overseas and I didn't have an oven. I had a fish grill but it looked like an oven, but it was not. And so I kept trying to use it as an oven and they're like, this is a fish grill, dummy. And I was just like, I didn't know. I just wanted to make some brownies.
Yep.
Couldn't figure out why they weren't rising.
Is confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So
we're all a little.
Okay.
I'll give the kids a break. We're all stupid.
Also, saute they just boiled those onions.
I know.
Like, saute them. Get some flavor.
But I feel like that generation was a boil it generation.
That's true.
Like, we don't need flavor. We have to work hard in life. There's no time for flavor.
That's true.
Maybe that's a harsh criticism, but it feels true.
I still feel like my grandma was a good cook.
Okay.
But she didn't boil stuff.
I don't remember my grandma's food other than so I go to my grandma's in the summers and whatever, and she would used to make me a cheese sandwich. So it was white bread with Miracle Whip.
Heck yeah.
With a thick, almost half inch, no, maybe quarter inch piece of cheddar.
Yeah.
In bread.
Yeah.
And here's happy, have a good lunch. That was lunch. Yeah. It was delicious.
That's
at the time. I ate it again as an adult and it was like the first bite was like, oh, grandma. And then the rest of the sandwich was a little struggle to get down. But it was good, but it was not what I remembered.
We used to do what my grandma would call generic grilled cheese, which my sister always mispronounced as genetic grilled cheese.
Nice.
But you just take 2 pieces of toast and you toast them till they're like, she always liked a little bit of black on it. So that you toast them pretty like,
so you burn them. Well done toast.
Okay. Smear butter on as quick as you can. And then take 2 pieces of American and squish them in between the 2 hot pieces of bread.
Oh my gosh.
And hope the American melts just a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
That was a common dinner.
Wow. That is a lot of choices.
It was.
I like it.
It's, I think there's, the bread, the cheese, that all checks out.
Yeah.
My grandma was like a good cook. That was not a highlight.
I just think that was my grandma was feeding me raw grilled cheese. Like she would not take the time to grill grill
cheese sandwich.
I know.
I like cheese sandwich.
It just again, it was delicious at the time, but now I'm like,
it's a lot of cheese.
That's a lot of dairy for a little kid,
especially
that was lactose intolerant, and nobody seemed to care. Everybody's like, it's fine, just keep bloating enough for dairy.
Just go.
It's like, why is she always sick? We don't know. Have some more cheese. Here's some chocolate milk.
Oh my god, my family would eat like full pints of ice cream. That was something. Did you ever do that?
No,
I couldn't. I get like an inch down and be like,
are the pints what are the Ben like the little ones?
Yeah, the Ben and Jerry's. Yeah, we'd go to the grocery store and my mom would
each
be like,
person
pick
got
a pint.
their own?
Yeah.
I cannot.
Blue Bunny. It had to be Blue Bunny.
Oh, Blue Bunny.
Ben and Jerry was too...
That's too bouge.
Yeah.
But Blue Bunny is...
Good bunny tracks.
I think in college, I became like a loser. Not really, but like I just kind of like shut down. And so I lived like in the furthest away like dorms from campus. So it was like a good mile walk in, and I never like would go and get food from like the cafeteria. Thus I made no friends because like I lived in like older student housing. So everybody either had like boyfriends and they were like, all my roommates had boyfriends. So they were just staying with their boyfriends. So I had this like 4-person suite to myself.
Oh my gosh.
But I was like freshman. So it's just like, but I didn't meet anybody because everybody was like.
Kev lived in a single. And his
whole
loved
time.
it.
I was a people person though. So anyway, I would be walking and there was this one place to get food and I'd always get a Caesar salad and then I'd get a Ben and Jerry's the cookie dough. Yeah. And I would eat it on like a Friday. And I'm like, what is my life? And then a lot of times I'd sit back and watch The Matrix and just be like, hey, it's fine.
It's good.
Yeah. Anyway, the one last thing that caught me off guard as a city girl is when they found the berries and they were just like, let's eat all these berries. I was like,
not even upset about that.
What are you doing? Because I, like, as a kid, I wouldn't have known what a blueberry is compared to, like, a berry you shouldn't eat. So.
Oh, I assume that's like they were not walking very far and they probably knew that there were like berries in the town.
But for me, I was just like, if I'm in the woods, I know not to eat berries. I love watching that forager girl on TikTok. Have you seen her?
Yes. She's the one that like she kind of has like little jazzy, like she sings along sometimes and does little goofy things. Yes. I do like watch. I
think she's so interesting, but I'm like, I could never be a forager because I would be the one. I remember one time I was in elementary school and I distinctly watched these 2 little girls eat mushrooms that were growing out of the grass and eat them. And then they had to go to the doctor. And I was just like, y'all are dumb. And I was in 3rd grade. And I was like, you don't eat nature.
Yeah.
You don't eat nature. As a vegetarian, I think that's my greatest quality is like, I don't eat nature.
There's a level of, how do I say this? There's a level of, so like my grandfather, not my pops who would eat the popcorn, but my grandfather would say like, you know, don't eat, he'd call them LBMs and he'd be like, don't eat LBMs, the little brown mushrooms. The hippie types like to use them for their hallucinatory properties.
And I'd be like, yeah, Grandpa.
I was in Dare at the time.
Oh my God.
100% in Dare and I was so about it. But I do think that there's an element of when you're growing. So like we grew up. We lived in kind of like a small town, but my grandparents had land out not very far, and so we'd spend our summers out there working with them. And there is an element of you worked outside all day. The last thing you want to do is like camp.
Yeah,
that's like I even had a friend in grad school who used to say my family were Bedouins. We finally got out of the desert. We don't do this. And I felt like a strong kinship with him of like, yeah, my family doesn't have to live in trailers anymore. We've made it. We have houses. Yay. So I do think that there is like an element of this, like of some of the nature stuff where I'm like, I grew up too poor for this crap. Like, I don't want to go camping.
No, I don't camp.
Yeah.
I hear you there. So the kids finally, Violet's sick and the doctor's finally like, you know what, maybe I should bring the grandfather
legal guardian
in on this. Yeah. And
well, we don't know who their legal guardian.
There was none.
Maybe I'm a little bit more warm than I thought. There's no legal guardian because the parents did no estate planning.
None.
Plan your stuff, or at least just like have someone who knows they're supposed to take the babies.
Yeah, like please.
Yeah.
Like I already know, like just so you know, in my will, I'm leaving my cat to you.
I do know that.
Yes.
Fully aware. And Fratelli will be welcomed with open arms.
She has a plethora of things she will be bringing.
That's fine.
Well, hopefully I won't die, but you never know.
I hope she's down to share because Merlin and Gizmo.
She's a little hooch, so no. She will not be sharing anything. She'll be like, boys, you better get away from my stuff.
Yeah, okay. And, Gizmo it is what it is. Will be fine. He'll adjust.
So Grandpa finally comes in the picture and the doctor gives him some sage advice of just let him warm up to you. So now this other creepy guy identity is coming around just chatting with these kids that are worried about their younger sister dying.
Want to see my cucumber in a bottle, kids?
Oh my gosh, that was so weird. They were so excited, which I get. It's like the kids that grow the pumpkins in the forms and stuff like that. Yeah, growing a cucumber in a jar sounds great.
You're a grown man. Anyway, keep going.
Then it was just funny how they just were like, okay. Then they just kind of let him know it's the grandfather and he's actually kind. Yay.
Yay. No questions about
nothing.
The family relationships.
No, nothing.
Or why dad and grandfather never talked. Maybe that's in the sequel.
Yeah, I'm not going to read the second
Yeah.
one, but anyway, so then finally they are like, the other thing that got me too is the damn dog.
Oh, the dog, the bartering with the lady for the dog.
That's just the thing about this lady.
Very extra.
I was like, why do we have all these like side quests all of a sudden? Like, what is happening?
I think she was just wrapping stuff up. She was like, end of the book's here. That is a loose thread.
Yeah, because we really needed to know where that dog came from.
This is the abridged version, though, right? So the original version is longer.
Okay.
And what they gave, I think there was probably a lot of, maybe just based on the abridged version, some excess details that were unnecessary. Very, very Herman Melville.
Yeah.
A lot of extra stuff.
That was actually
Gertrude Chandler Warner, Herman Melville of her time.
So, okay. The kids now are with their grandpa. So the doctor or the grandpa had like a $5,000 reward for the kids.
Yeah.
Did the doctor get that money?
No, he turned it down.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
He does.
I mean, I guess that's the one decent thing he did. I thought he was going to take it, but
I kind of did too, because I think there was like one point where he even sort of like pondered it outside. He's like, maybe I should turn them in. And the whole like comments about why didn't you come get us? And he's just like, yeah, you guys seem to be having a good camping trip. Like they're children in the woods living in a boxcar.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's a different time, but none
still,
of this was like
no red flags, no CPS,
not a
no
single
like
one. Well, you know.
I mean, I'm not a big fan, but there are cases where maybe we need to intervene in some way.
They're
They're pooping in the woods.
This was, if it's 1924, this is pre-New Deal.
That's there's pre any of that, yeah.
No, wait, is it pre-New Deal?
I don't know, dude. I can barely put a thought together.
No. The crash is like at like 1929 or 1919, 1920.
I don't know.
So maybe I think the New Deal had been been talked about by this point. But I don't know if child services came with,
I feel like there was not child service. Was there even child labor laws at this point in a real way?
Yeah, I think there were, because the progressives had already happened.
I love meeting with you, Sam, because you always know all this random crap.
I don't know if I actually know that, but I think that there had been like child labor laws at that point.
I feel like it, but I feel like people were, well, I mean, they still abuse it today. I think they come
with the progressives in the early, like with Teddy Roosevelt and like the progressive parties that came with like, Upton Sinclair and Nellie Bly, like all the yellow journalism laws, all those things kind of came together.
Sam. I'm just like the 20s flappers.
I don't know. We should double check this, but
we will not be doing any fact checking for the record. Take this all with a grain of salt because
I'm going to Google child labor
laws
when I get home.
Oh my gosh.
I need to know.
But so grandfather takes them in and then big surprise.
Big surprise at the end. Yeah. He's like, you guys can play house anytime.
Because he brings the boxcar to his fancy house.
Exactly.
Because he lives in a mansion that's a big mansion.
So I was really upset about the logistics of moving the boxcar. The track... What truck?
I don't know.
No, because they talk about this at the beginning that because Benny is scared.
Yeah.
That there's going to be a train that comes and takes them away.
Yeah.
And Henry says, no, look at all this stuff. It's growing over the tracks. They're all rusted out.
It's fine.
Sand can't cure that.
No,
it's
it can't.
Like too much. So if there is a civil engineer with an expertise in 1920s heavy machinery, please comment on how that happened.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Yeah, I don't know. All I can think about is somebody built the pyramids, probably the same weight.
Ancient aliens.
She is Liddy.
You know who moved it? Ancient aliens.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So I went on Goodreads and was looking at the reviews for this, and it kind of cracked me up because people were just like kind of about this life, and I was just like,
That's the same people who are like convinced that cottagecore is a good idea and that they can get rid of their electronics while also posting things to Instagram.
Yes. And I think too, a lot of it was people like, I just love that book growing up. And I'm like, you didn't reread it. And then there's people like me that were like, this was not a mystery. Because this is a mystery. This book is a mystery.
Other ones are mysteries. They are mysteries.
This one is.
I remember one was like a little creepy when I was a kid.
Oh, well, I didn't even read this one really when I was a kid. But overall,
yes.
What is your rating? Like what are we giving this?
Oh my gosh.
We just gave our book report. So are we saying like everybody should read this, or
I'm going to give this
what's our scale going to be?
3 out of 5 BNSF cars. The railroad.
I'm going to get it 1.5.
I'm going to give it a 0 on the number of medical licenses that should be issued. But 3 out of 5 BNSF cars.
Okay.
We're not sponsored by BNSF.
No. I would say I would not necessarily recommend this to anyone ever, nor would I ever if I had kids.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the question. Would you let your kids read it?
I would try to find something that's just a little bit like more contemporary, and like my kids would be Black. So I'm like, I would want it to have just a little bit more representation, and not that they can't read stuff that's not, fully represented, but it's just like a little bit too much child abuse for me.
The child abuse for sure. But I don't think, do you think there's anything that in this book, like outside of the obviously white children on the cover, that identifies like race in the book?
Okay, I'll probably
this
sound
is probably
bad.
going to be too heavy, but
I don't know, dude. Like there was just some stuff I'm like, that's some white people shit. Like,
oh, now I want to know, because it's probably it feels like maybe some of the things I was like, oh yeah, we did that.
This is going to sound really bad, but the most white thing was the no seasoning. There's no seasoning anywhere. Everything is just like, I think maybe there was like a point where they talked about pepper and salt on one dish. But for the most part, I'm like, let's boil some turnips and eat them with bread and milk.
They're really...
Ugh.
I mean, not everybody had the 2-for-1 like Kroger spice sale going.
Homeboy won $400 at a race. You get a little pepper goes a long way.
They had butter, right? At one point they said they had butter.
That's butter's not a seasoning.
No.
Sorry.
No.
I'm very passionate about my seasonings.
100% butter is not a seasoning.
Not a seasoning.
Listen. I mean, I grew up in a salt and pepper household. Like, that's the only seasonings. Don't boil those onions.
Yeah.
Butter. Caramelize them.
Caramel. Yes. I don't know. There's just stuff like I don't know.
I feel like at if Jesse's age, I knew you cooked onions in butter and nothing else.
I think there's nothing like overtly like bad in this book.
Yeah.
I just think the writing for me is not great, because there's been lots of kids books I've read that are engaging and I'm like, yeah. And this one is just not doing it for me.
This is definitely, so I want to be very clear, but I think that this picture, the Instagram picture, the cottagecore would also be on like, it would be definitely on like a trad wife blog. Like the whole like gender roles in this are heavy.
Yeah.
And I know that's like the times. So I don't know if I would want the like that being the subtext if I had daughters.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in the other ones that like the girls, the ladies do like some mystery solving, and there's a lot more that goes on. There's
more depth to their character, and
they have horses.
Yeah, jeez. Yeah. Anywho, so there we go. That was our first book report. I had a fun time.
I did too.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna sleep so hard tonight. I'm just so thank you for making these amazing cocktails.
I hope it was good.
Also, it's like our next book
for next month
is Go Ask Alice.
Dare. Speaking of Dare. Oh, we passed this around. I'm actually very excited for this one.
Oh my gosh, it's so scandalous.
It's so bad. I'm actually a little bit sad.
I know. I don't want it to ruin it for me, because I think the last time I read it, I was 15. And I wore out my copy. I reread that thing. That was one summer. That's all I read was Go Ask Alice on repeat. So super excited about that.
There was like a wait list at the library for that one. They had it at the school library. We all read it in middle school. So I guess I was probably in like 7th grade.
Yeah.
That was the one that like there was a wait list. And kids that didn't read
we're like, I'll read that one. I know. I get it. So I'm super excited about it. And so if you want to read along with us, pick up a copy, support your local bookstore, support your local library. If all else fails, eBay. I got mine on eBay for like $3, and they have tons of copies. So I'm super excited for.
You can get used books from Powell's bookstore.
Yes. There's lots of options out there. There's lots of free resources if you don't want to pay the money. Or you can't, because, times are tough right now.
Times are tough. Yeah, support your local library. You pay taxes.
So might as well use them.
A lot of them have really awesome like electronic resources these days.
Yes, I get all my audiobooks free from the library. I've saved thousands of dollars.
I read all my trash magazines.
Oh, yes.
Atomic Ranch.
Yes.
Not trash.
I don't read that, but that's interesting.
It is all mid-century modern like decor and architecture. I love it.
Love it. So yeah, make sure to subscribe, and you can follow us on Instagram at Boozy Book Report and stay up to date with all of the cool things that we're doing. I know for me that I'm definitely boozy. Sam looks fine, but if I stand up right now, I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. I'm going to fall over. So cheers to that.
Yeah.
And yeah, join us next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.